I'd love to hear about the program, and that's what, was a real interest to me. I'm a PLM graduate from Louisiana Lafayette,
Yep.
a little bit smaller. I was one of three that graduated in 2004 or
My goodness, one
2003.
of three. We've all done that.
Yeah,
We've gone down in size, and we're down in size compared to what we're used to do.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, I will be with them. We actually have a fun thing. We have a directors meeting put on by AAPL every year.
Mm.
And we moved it to July, and we're going to have it here next week in Fort Worth at the AAPL headquarters. And it's fun to talk to all the programs and find out what's working, what's not working, and really share success stories and things that are working with
They're so
today's
important.
students, because they're different, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the programs are so important, and compared to what you see in some of the other majors, I mean, it's a small group, it's a core group, and I mean, I remember bumping into people when I was going to school that were in these other programs, and kind of cool to follow everybody and see how their careers have gone. So it's great that y'all get to do that, and it's super important. You
Yeah.
need to. There's so much evolving, so much changing in our industry, and what opportunities are there for the PLM and energy management grads. And ultimately, the job of the program and your job as a director is to guide them and prepare them for the rest of their lives, and help maybe present opportunities and give them a toolkit.
Yep.
So it's really, really cool that y'all do that.
Well, the toolkit is everything in it to get these kids prepared, and it's still entry level. But are you giving them things they can take with them, excuse me, for the rest of their lives and in their work life? And it's been an interesting one. When I joined, you might like this story. My first couple of days here, so I show up June 1 of 19, and Steve basically left the next day after convocation, and we do all that. And he went off to Europe. He had a really cool experience. He took a religion class at Oxford. It's so cool. And he was so excited. But, I took over for him, and he's gone. He's in Europe. And my assistant came in and said, well, I work a 9-month year. I don't work a full year. So nice to meet you. I'll see you in 3 months. And I'm literally sitting there in this office going, how do I log in? And I've been very spoiled in my executive life, having at least one assistant full time, if not two at times. And so it's a story that might kind of bring it into perspective of how it shaped my vision of what we're doing now. So I get in, and on that Friday, right before that, we got an envelope in, and she said, oh, we've been waiting for this envelope. And they're paying us for the scholarship money that they owe us. And the way timing works, you allocate scholarships to kids, and then the money kind of comes in later. And it was a little late. And he goes, I've been waiting for this. And I'm not going to tell you what company it was. And he said, this is big. This is the last thing that we were hoping to get. He opened it up, and it was 5 individual checks. And he just looked at it, and he looked at me, and he goes, oh my God, Mike, look at this. And I opened it up, and he goes, the company didn't pay the scholarship money. The landman passed the hat to cover it.
Wow.
And I'm looking at these checks, and I said, well, Steve, I think I now know what I'm walking into, because it was hard even back then. I mean, we went under, but what a lot of people don't remember or don't know is there were 600 bankruptcies in oil and gas, about 300 E&P and 300 in the services. And you can't fake that. Mm-hmm. And everybody was in a panic, like you said. And right then, our number one graduate, one outstanding graduate of the year by AAPL, she never worked in the industry. The company pulled the offers, and she's never been in. And it was a tough time. And so I look back, and I'm alone, and I went and talked to our development people that were next door, and I said, can I get some data? I said, I have a mindset, but I don't want to have it be my opinion. I want it to be based on facts. And so I like data, and I want to look at data. And so they were able to hand me the Excel database of all the alumni for the program. And by the way, there's been something like 2,600 graduates of this program since 1958. And I looked at the data, and there's a ton of old data that's incomplete, right, in a database, especially going way back. And so, but we had outstanding data on about 1,200 people. And I just started playing around and sorting. And I sorted by, I said, I wonder how our students have done in life. And what can I learn from that? I did a sort, and I did it A to Z, top to short, and I looked at titles. And I said, I wonder how many people are, running a company. So I get it, and I looked at it, and I said, okay, that's president. What about CEO? What about executive vice president? Senior vice president? Only really the people that are running it, a COO type of role. And I was absolutely stunned that there were 174 alumni in that category. It was 12.9% of every single person we had data on was the most senior executive. Wow. And I was blown away. I expected that number to be 1%, not 13%.
Yeah.
And so it started me on a journey to figure this out. And I did it by year, and I broke down the data, and I started trying to analyze it. And what I did is I discovered some things and that I wanted to test. And I sent out a real quick survey to all the companies we had that had hired our students, internships and full-time. And I asked them, 8 questions. I said, this is a 2-minute survey. Please do this for me. I'm brand new. I'm trying to learn. You don't have to worry about hurting my feelings. I'm not the owner of this, but I am from this point forward. And I got some amazing data back. And I immediately got up and went in the month of July and went to Houston and talked to 40 companies. But what I discovered through all this was the reason that these graduates had done so well was the general business background. And that got down to the heavy influence in finance. So going back in time a little bit, in the year 2000, we changed the major from petroleum land management, which is what I got, to energy management. And I was part of that, and I remember it pretty well in 2000. And we decided to make the major more substantive and really a lot more about finance and a better business person than just kind of touching everything. And by goodness, that is exactly what has happened. And those graduates are really, really prepared. Not necessarily on day one. In fact, I asked the employers that. They said, no, on day one, they're typical entry level. They're a little bit behind on some of the land stuff. But they said after a year, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously stereotyping, but yeah, they're good. They're great business students, and they do really well. They get promoted, or they go off to different groups in the company and then be successful. And it's kind of one of the things that I thought about and kind of changed with this major is, what do we need to be prepared during this pivot? So if you think about the history of the program, it's 65 years old. We've had 2 major pivots, and we're in the middle of one right now. The first one was 2000. And then right now in 2020, 21, 22, we're in another major pivot. And I think it was frankly one of the reasons I was brought in. I think I was brought in as a change agent. That was a big part of what I did commercially. And the industry was changing, and the industry was in shambles. And so, it was interesting. So I made sure, and the feedback I got, I moved 3 classes from upper division electives, energy electives, to requirements. And that was a senior level Excel class, which is direct feedback from employers. Every graduate has to take a negotiations course for a full semester. And then I added a gas marketing and power trading course. Again, it was there, but it was not being taken because it was an elective. And I made that a requirement. And those were the first 3 changes I made. And I've been pleased with our results. It is right now, 40% of all the people in the program are either a double major or a minor in finance. And I think that by able to keep that going, I think that's been really strong, and it really is our influence that we're trying to give these kids. And I think every school has an emphasis, and every school I like. I'm always really impressed with all the other universities and what they're doing. We all take a little bit different approach, and I think that's fun because we all think we're good. And you know what? I think everybody is good.